Thanks, Levent, for the opportunity. I'm really pleased that we are able to connect and talk about sales because especially in B2B sale, I'm very passionate about. That's been my world for the last 20 plus years. It's crazy. I've been working for that long already. And most of that has been involved with B2B sales or marketing in one shape or form. But I'm very passionate about B2B selling. So hopefully we can have a good conversation. I can give you some good tips about personal selling and sales.
Okay, awesome. So what would you say are some specific sales techniques that you use in your specific industry?
So again, it's tough, right? Because your techniques and your strategies depend quite a bit. They vary quite a bit. Again, I mean, there are some specific to your industry for sure, but you need to kind of customize your strategies first as to what works for you, because you have to be authentic. And the other one is you need to customize those techniques and strategies to your customer base. And even in this, because again, in the B2B world, you are selling to a buying center. So you're not selling to one person, you are typically selling to 4, 5, 6, or it could be a committee of up to 10 people at one single company. So you need to really understand first the dynamics, the different people involved in the decision-making process, and then you need to customize your strategies and your techniques accordingly. So I think that it's tough to kind of boil it down to a few techniques specific to the industry, but by and large, you need to be really close to your customers. You really need to understand what their issues are, and then make sure that you are able to align your solutions or the solutions and products and services that your company offers with those specific issues and problems that the customers have. So that's basically what you need to do. But hopefully we'll be able to get into some of those specific techniques as we move along this conversation.
Sounds good. Thank you. So what made you originally want to pursue a career in sales?
So sales, I think I always found it really exciting and rewarding. It's a tough profession, but at the same time, it's very rewarding because you are able to see the results right away. First off, to me, selling is helping. So it's where you're really helping people out. Solve the issues that they're having.
Problem solve for them, correct?
Yeah, and that's what it is. And I think
solve certain type of problem they may have.
And that's what really kind of makes it more fun, because once you make that switch, that hey, instead of you are pushing a solution to a customer to gain a sale, you are looking at it more from their perspective as to, how can I help this customer? So for me, what really got me interested in the beginning was that, hey, this is the opportunity where I can help customers solve their issues. And then I can get that feedback right there and then, because you are on the forefront of the action, right? So you're not in the background, you're on the forefront, you're on the pointy edge of the business where you are working closely with the customers, understanding what their issues are and able to solve those issues. And once you get the sale, you get this feedback right away, whether you are doing your job or not. So that's something that really got me interested into selling.
Great. So our next question is, what does your typical workday look like?
So again, I'll kind of go back a few years when I was doing sales primarily, because again, in the role today, I'm managing more of a team. So I'm not involved with day-to-day selling as much, but at the same time, I do kind of get involved, and I kind of work with very closely with our account executives and sales organization, and kind of help them win the sales. So when I was working as a business development officer, again, a typical day used to kind of start off with getting organized, kind of see what is lined up for the day. And again, that planning has to kind of start earlier, because that's one of the things that I learned, because in the beginning you just kind of show up to work, and then you just get inundated, right? Because you've got so many emails and calls and issues from the customer side of things, and similarly from the internal stakeholders, and that really kind of gets you consumed. Now, a lot of those things are important and urgent that you need to respond to, and that's part of the expectation. I think that's what really kind of makes good salespeople different from others, their responsiveness, because they are able to kind of prioritize those things where the customers need some support and go out of the way to help them out, and that's really kind of helps them gain that relationship. But another thing that you need to do is to be successful in your sales career is to really organize and plan your day, your week, and your month. So I think that's okay. So instead of kind of getting consumed by the day to day, you have to kind of start planning. So at very least, you should be planning your month or a quarter that, hey, these are the main customers that I need to work with. And then kind of schedule time on your calendar to do the research, to kind of have those meetings and get in front of them as much as possible. And then you also need to kind of support your existing customers. You don't want to forget about them as well. So again, for me, when I was working in that business development or sales role, it kind of started off with having your day already set up. That, okay, these are the customer meetings that I need to go to. And then at the same time, kind of build in enough, I would say, time in your day to deal with those daily tasks or emergencies that show up. So you show up to the work, you first of all can look at your calendar, see what kind of meetings and issues you got going on that you need to respond on. And then also kind of see if something new or urgent has come up, and then you prioritize it accordingly.
Okay, awesome. So even though we're both passionate about sales and we like engaging with people, there are still some harsh realities of the industry. So from your perspective, what are some of these harsh realities about working in sales?
Yeah, for sure. And as I also alluded earlier on, sales is a tough profession. It's not easy. I know it's very rewarding, but it's not an easy profession. I think a couple of harsh realities for sales professionals. One is just the stigma around sales, because it's still, as soon as you tell somebody that, hey, I'm in sales, or, can I have a meeting with you and I'm a salesperson or want to talk about sales, people tend to become defensive. The guards come up, right? Because there is a very negative connotation to sales, because people consider salesperson as somebody who's really going to push a solution at you. So I think that's something that you really need to, I would say, quash early on. And that's one of the harsh realities, right? Because a lot of people look at sales as a very, very selfish profession, where salespeople are just after commission and they're just trying to make a sale, not really kind of taking care of what your interest is, which is not true, because the real sales professionals, they are really there to help you, right? Yeah. So I think that's one of the harsh realities, where just the initial perception of people when you show up that, hey, you are a salesperson or you are, representing your company's product services, people tend to get defensive or not as open. So I think that's one harsh reality that you have to get used to. And that kind of starts off with your own confidence and your own approach, your confidence in the value that you're bringing to the table. So you have that confidence, and that rubs off to your customers. The other harsh reality is the rejection.
Yeah,
because
a lot of rejection.
There's a lot of rejection, right? And that's something that you have to get used to. Again, goes back to the confidence that you have in yourself and your product and service, that, hey, you know what, this may not be the right product or service for this customer, or maybe they were not ready for it. Maybe there was something else on the go. That's why they went with somebody else, or they decided not to buy it. In fact, the biggest competitor that you have as a salesperson is
yourself.
No decision, right? Because because they won't buy. Yeah. Especially in the B2B sales context, because a lot of products are more to do with the future, like efficiencies, productivity, or something, more long-term. So customers may have the pain, but they are still able to function. So the need is not as immediate most of the time, again, depending on the kind of solution that you're selling. So again, a lot of my times customers just don't make the decision, or they just delay it. And that could be really disheartening, right? Yeah. That rejection and then those delays, and just so I think that's the second harsh reality. The third harsh reality that I would say is that, again, in an ideal world, salespeople should be able to make the sale and move on to the next sale, right? Yeah. And everything goes smooth, because you have got your customer service people, you have got all these other people in the organization who are there to take care of the customer. The product should show up, the service should, everything should go smooth, but it doesn't.
Yeah, I actually had, from my summer job, I was working as a salesperson for TELUS, and I actually had a customer that keep calling me back about a problem she was having with her payment and everything. I'm like, listen, ma'am, I was just a salesperson. I introduced you to the products, I introduced you to our plans, and and I built a relationship too. But at the end, at the end, that like post-sales service wasn't really a part of my job, right?
And I
So
think that's a really interesting example that you give, because again, to you, when you are in that role, obviously you have got limited control over other people, right, or other department, because they have to deliver, right, something that you sold.
yeah,
But at the same time, you were the one who sold that product or service to the customer. So to them, Levent is the face of the company. So if the company drops the ball, or the product does not give the customer the same level of, value that they expected, then they're going to come back to you. And that's one of the harsh realities, because they expect you to deliver. And I think, again, it's tough. But again, to me, good salespeople are able to manage that in a very, I would say, in a fashion whereby they are able to influence their internal stakeholders as well as the customer in a realistic fashion, where they are still able to act as a bridge to get the customer issues sorted. I know that there are limitations, because again, company may have a policy or there may be other people, but I find that the salespeople who take that accountability, that, hey, you know what, even though it's not my job anymore, right? The customer service people need to take, but at the same time, as the customer advocate, as the people who sold that product or service to the customer, I find that the salespeople who take the accountability and the initiative to push that through the sales or the rest of the organization, to get the customer the support and the service that they needed, they are the ones who build a better relationship with the customer, and then more respect, and then as a result they get more sales. Because think of it, if the same lady, if she were able to solve her issue, she's going to tell 10 people. And not only that, I mean, she's, first of all, if she has to buy something in the future, she's going to be coming to you. She won't be going to anybody else.
that's
But
true.
if you're not able to support the customer, even though it was not your fault, and she would be still upset at you, right? And next time she may
Sure,
go to
because that was
somebody.
the case.
So now, so that's something that you have to keep in mind. But having said that, the reality is that you may have limited control over it as well. But that's where I think you need to have that internal network. You need to have that internal, kind of bank account and the influence whereby you are able to, solve those customer issues. And those salespeople are the ones who are really, successful, and the ones that they stand out, that they're able to take care of those customers. That's why when I teach personal selling and B2B selling, I really emphasize that, hey, networking is critical, right? You need to know people, but it's not only external. In fact, your internal networking is more important, to be successful in sales, because once you get the customer order, your ability, or even before that, your ability to customize that solution, because you have to rely on other people within the organization, and give the best solution to the customer, and then making sure that it is delivered upon, is so critical for your success. So I think that's one of the key, I would say, techniques, if you want to, going back to your first question, is to build that network internally, that strong network that you can rely on to make sure that you're able to get the quotes right, the solution right, and then the delivery right, or any problems that come across, you're able to get those solved for the customer without spending too much of your time, because your job is selling, not just,
Yes.
so you need to kind of have that network and the influence in the organization to make that happen.
Awesome. So this actually connects with our next question, which is, from your experience, what method of contact when first reaching out to a new customer is the most effective, and why?
So again, to me, it depends, right? Because it depends on the customer. It depends on their situation as well, because sometimes, if the customer is already looking for that type of product or services, as soon as you kind of just hit their LinkedIn network, you just kind of add them, and they see that, hey, this person represents a company that offers that product. I mean, they may be open to your contact right away. So it depends, somewhat to the situation of the customer and what their preferred contact method is. But to me, you need to, again, build that network, well in advance. And that's where you need to kind of really invest in that, so that, I mean, people kind of know you, so that
Okay.
you are respected. So when you reach out to,
What you're saying is, generally, my question entailed that, like a cold call, for example, you don't know who you're calling and they don't know you. So you don't have an existing relationship with them. Something like that. Not someone
Okay.
you already have a relationship with and they know you, they know your products. Someone you are just reaching out to and you're introducing Cummins products, for example.
So again, for that, my preference would be that you have to have a system in place whereby you are able to network with those people, or at least be visible to those people in advance, so that you have a bit of a social currency early on.
Okay.
That so that when you reach out to them, then they're like, okay, you know what, it's okay because this person seems to be credible, trustworthy, really caring about other people, knowledgeable in their area. So this would be a good person to talk to. I should be able to spare 5-10 minutes to talk to this guy. So you need to kind of create that reputation or personal brand. I mean, that's one of the terms that you use these days, are so that, I mean, people are going to pay attention to you when you kind of reach out to them. So I think that's one thing. Now, again, taking the other extreme where you are in a bind and you just want to make this cold call to the customer, I think the first step is to do the research on that
Okay.
customer, right? Before you can reach out to them, then, okay, who is this person? What do I have in common with this person? What kind of issues or problems they have going on right now or in their industry, which are important to them? And then reach out. Again, I'm not a big fan of cold call. Again, you could do it.
Yeah, I'm not either.
There is a point in it. But again, if you're going from a cold call perspective, I think it just kind of makes it too
No,
short term.
I'm not going from a cold call perspective. I was saying, what's your preferred method?
So in terms of connecting with people, as I said, my preferred method is to kind of really kind of connect with people early on, with information, with knowledge that I can share around the industry that I'm representing, so that I have built some trust with them already, so that they already kind of know me or know me through somebody. Or if I reach out to them through, let's say, LinkedIn, then they would be curious enough to kind of look at my profile, and that should kind of pique their interest, right? Hey, this person knows this industry. The other piece is, I think you have to be persistent. Again, goes back to that rejection, right? So you have to be open to that. And again, to me, use multiple methods of reaching out to people. Again, you have to be respectful so that you don't really start pestering people that you are leaving 10 voice messages. And so don't do that. Or 10 emails, but you have to be persistent, right? And the other piece that I have is, again, look for things which are common to you and the customer, and where you could offer something of value to the customer. Because again, I talked about this harsh reality that as soon as salesperson or you introduce yourself as a salesperson comes up, people's guard go up. That, hey, this person is going to start trying selling something which I don't need. But the reality is they need it. They just don't realize it, or they don't accept it right now. So you need to create an environment where that person becomes open to talk to you. So again, if you're able to reach out to them, it could be LinkedIn, it could be email, it could be voicemail, it could be even stopping by and having the conversation. But you need to kind of start off with something which is of value to them that you're able to offer. It could be some industry specific information that you could share. You could just kind of reach out to somebody in a voice message. Another technique that I find is very effective is find somebody in common, or somebody that you know, and use that person as a reference. Talk to that guy and say, you know what, by the way, I'm going to reach out to this person. Can you put in a good word for me? Again, you need to be able to have the relationship with the other person that he or she is willing to put that word. Hey, Levent, by the way, you're going to get a call from Ehtisham, and you know what? He is a really good guy. He knows the industry, and he may be able to give you some good tips too, right, as to what's going on. I think it's you two are going to benefit by talking to you. So that's going to make a huge difference in you being open to receiving my invite. So I think for me, a preferred method is finding something which is common, something of value to the customer or that person that you could offer. And then if you could find somebody who could introduce you to them, or you have a common friend, that really kind of makes it easy for you to kind of open up that door.
Okay, that was very very good. And so I have another personal question for you. What are some other industries or job functions that you were involved with previously before going like, okay, I don't want to do this anymore. I want to focus on sales?
So again, when I started my career, I was in engineering. So I did go to engineering school, and I did my mechanical engineering. So my first job, or in fact, my first couple of jobs were in project engineering. So I was working for oil and gas industry, building and developing these big infrastructures and oil and gas facilities. So that was kind of my world. Um, so I did that for a couple of years, but very soon I realized that my personality was not really suited to that. In fact, something that I really excelled in was customer service, sales, and marketing. And that's where my kind of interests and my natural, I would say, abilities were. Because even in my role in that project engineer, I really kind of shown in those aspects. Because again, that's another piece that I tell everybody when it comes to sales and marketing, that everybody sells, right? I mean, um, I know this Daniel Pink, who is a very famous writer. He wrote a book, "To Sell is Human," and I can, because selling is what you're doing. Everybody's doing, right, all the time. So even in that role, I was doing selling, and I really excelled in that, and my superiors could see it. On the other flip side, the engineering, where the engineering came in, I would say average in it, right? So I wasn't really above average. I wasn't really passionate about it. So I wasn't
I
really
wasn't good
super.
at engineering either.
So that was where, in fact, I need to give credit to one of my earlier managers to kind of recognize that and say, hey, you know what? You are a good engineer, no, or technical guy, don't have any issues with that. Man, do you really shine when it comes to selling and marketing and talking to people and helping them out on that side? And I said, hey, you know what? That's an area that I'm passionate about as well. He said, you know what? Then why don't you pursue it? And you would be more successful in that. And that was something that I was already contemplating, but that conversation really solidified it for me. So I started going to school in the evening, did my MBA, took some courses in selling and marketing, and that really kind of gave me the the um, the knowledge to kind of get into that, because I was already passionate. And then
Yeah,
I took a change in my career and have never really turned back.
that's good. Whatever makes you happy, right?
Not
So
only that, I think whatever you enjoy doing, because if you enjoy something, then that becomes really easy, and then you get really good at it. I think that's
because
one thing
you
that I
want to do
really.
it more and you practice more, you put more time and effort into it.
Yeah, and it becomes easy. I think that's very important. But at the same time, you also need to appreciate those harsh realities as well, right? So that you're going in, you need to make sure that you realize and be realistic about those challenges that you're going to face. But since you enjoy it, that makes it way easier. And then you get good at it, right? Because again, that you do have those natural
Yeah.
tendencies and talent.
So what makes someone a good salesperson besides just the numbers and the quotas, would you say? Is it building relationships?
I think the numbers and the quotas are the outcome, um, and at times that could be misleading as well, because if the industry is doing good, or if you are in an industry which is in a growth stage, I've seen salespeople who are really mediocre, hitting their quotas or exceeding their quotas or making a lot of sales, because again, all you need to do at that in that situation is to be an order taker. As long as you're able to take orders, which anybody could do. So I think sales numbers and quotas could be misleading, because again, it varies so much with the overall industry and the economy and all of that.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it is an outcome, and you need to make sure that you're getting results. But to me, for a salesperson, there are certain set of skills which are really critical to have. And if you have those critical skills, then those numbers are going to follow. I mean, and there are a whole bunch of skills. And again, a lot of another thing that I say is there is no perfect salesperson or personality, because people bring different perspective and different, I would say, skills to the table, and a different combination of skills, right? So there are certain skills which I think are kind of, I would say, given for a sales role, that you need to have some of these basic skills. But at the same time, I've kind of seen people who are very sociable, very outgoing, not as successful as salespeople. At the same time, people who are very reflective and introverts could be extremely successful in sales as well. So I think some of those, I would say, traits that are traditional, that, hey, you need to be outgoing, and vice versa, I don't agree with those. But at the same time, I think for selling, some of the key things, empathy or listening, I think those are really critical, right? You should really need to, because again, that's how you click with your customer. You really need to understand. The other one is caring and responsiveness, because you have to be caring about your customers, right? That, okay, you should be able to feel their pain, and that's how you become empathetic. And then you need to be responsive. You need to take action. for your customers. And that's how you build trust, because that's how you're able to solve the customer issues. And the last one I would say is being strategic and persistent. So you have to have a vision as to where you want to take those customers, because again, your day could get consumed with those fires, and then you just get consumed and you're not able to really help the customers in the long run and solve their issues and grow the business. And you're just kind of responding to day to day. So you have to be strategic, and something that goes along with that is the persistence piece, because there's a lot of rejection, a lot of delays, a lot of challenges that will come your way, but you have to stick with it. You need to be really persistent to that, and then success is going to come.
Sounds good. That was great. Thank you very much. That concludes our interview. And if there's anything else you'd like to add.
No, Levent, I think it was a good conversation. Thoroughly enjoyed. Thanks again for reaching out and interviewing me for this interview. Just kind of bring some interesting kind of memories back in my mind as well. But yeah, and just kind of again, a couple of closing comments that I would have. Again, everybody sells. So that's one important thing, that even if you are in a sales role, or if you are in a different role altogether, I think everybody could benefit from selling skills and strategy, and everybody is selling. So I think that's one thing that everybody needs to appreciate. The other one is that selling is a very rewarding profession. I know there are some negative, perceptions out there, and at times it could become really challenging. But at the same time, it's a very, very rewarding career, because you are really able to help customers and grow the business. And that is really energizing, right? You can really kind of help customers, you can see them. And then at the same time, you can see your organization benefiting from that too, right? So I think that's a very exciting role to be in. And thirdly, my message is that you don't really have to have a particular kind of personality to be successful in sales. You could, and you have to be authentic, but there are certain, I think, skills that you need to master, which we talked about: empathy, listening, responsiveness, caring, strategic, and persistence. Those are some of the key traits that you need to have to be successful. But other than that, I think you can be yourself, and you could be extremely successful in sales. And it could be whether you are in that profession 100%, or if you are in a different profession, you would always benefit from a selling mindset.
Yeah,
so
at the end of the day, whether you're, even if you're a doctor in the medical field, you still have to sell your services, or you're an accountant, you still have to sell your services. So at the end of the day, sales is a part of every industry. And interestingly that you kind of mentioned that, because again, in my career, I've come across some of the best salespeople who came from technical background. And they, again, from a personality perspective, they were not that outgoing. They were not, as sociable, but they really knew their product or service. From a technical side, they were caring, and they were responsive and empathetic to the customers. They were able to gain the customer trust early on because of their technical knowledge, and then because of their, empathy and responsiveness, those people were really successful. And again, as I said, I mean, you don't have to switch careers from technical to sales, but you could still be extremely successful in your technical roles too, if you adopt that selling mindset, because everybody in the organization is there to sell or support that selling, right? That's true. All right. That was good. Thank you. Well, you're most welcome, Levent. Wish you all the very best. And yeah, see you sometime soon. See you soon.